Thank you, Dr. Fazeli. What we're now going to do is to have a panel and an opportunity for some questions and answers from the audience and from anybody and everybody. My role here is to function, I think, as a bit of an enforcer to make sure that the conversation revolves around the issue of what can be done, what should be done, recommendations for the future. So if you could direct your questions or direct your comments and remarks specifically to those points, namely how the future should shape itself around Kashan and perhaps other parts of Iran as well. So could I invite the other members of the panel, Aghay Rastegar, Dr. Fazeli, if you could return to I think you're supposed to be here, yes? Your work isn't finished yet. The family. And Dr. Nokandeh. And His Excellency is not with us, I gather. Is that right, John? No, the ambassador has gone, I think. He's not here, right. Would you like to join as well? Why not? So I'd like to suggest that we kick off with just a few minutes from each of the participants here on the panel to say a few words, and then we'll throw it open to the floor. Would you like to start? This is a left-wing country. So do please start.
It's a really great day for us, and it's Sialk Day for Iran, and now many scholars and also archaeologists and non-archaeologists gather to hear, not only to understand our history and civilization, but also how we can protect such a wonderful site in Iran, unique site for the future generation. As I want to start from Mohsen Javeri's talk. In Iran, we need more salvage excavation. Salvage excavation doesn't mean to make a dam and to protection of site. Even, the expand of our cities, making industrial section, and many other reasons, we know many sites has been destroyed during the past 50 years ago. The best way to preserve such a site, which is located in the middle of the city, to have long-term scientific excavation. We could see Sialk was gradually become destroyed by local people because they didn't know it. And cultural heritage, good management was that to send Dr. Malek Shahmirzadi to excavate the site. And he's wonderful for because it was international multidisciplinary work. And also he brought lots of younger generation on his team. For example, Jebrael Nokandeh, Dr. Faridun Biglari, Dr. Fahimi, and Dr. Barbara Helving, Dr. Temberg. So Sialk becomes so important. And the mayor and the other parts of the people who has responsibility for the city became aware and how to protect the site. Quickly after he finished his work, Dr. Malek again asked me to excavate the site. And as Robin said, we went to Sialk, worked in the 2 seasons, unfortunately, during the Ahmadinejad period in the second. So he destroyed the international relationship and also stopped all of the national and international excavation. And again, the site of Sialk becomes under the destruction. New houses were made, and luckily from the, after Mr. Rouhani came, and again the Iranian government and cultural heritage try to look after the site and preservation in the site. So in my suggestion is that because Dr. Nokandeh is not only the director of the National Museum of Iran, he's also the academic member of and the committee of the Iranian Center for Archaeological Research. The best way is back to city of Sialk with a multinational team, multidisciplinary team to excavate the site and to have a good model of site museum. And then Iranian government and the mayor of the city, they are very, very keen now, because I had a meeting with him 2 months ago, and they like to buy all houses and destroy it and to back to the Sialk south and north to 1930, when there were no building and only was agricultural land. And then, I also mentioned that Professor Robin Cunningham is as a big position in UNESCO, and also his knowledge and his work, he worked in Iran, he worked in Sialk, and can help us to nominate the site of Sialk as a World Heritage Site. My second proposition is that if possible, to see or to see decision and or talk for the next year. Again, to have about what was happened during the next year, and to see about the management of the city, to ask the mayor and the other people from Kashan, and archaeologists and non-archaeologists to gather together and to see, are we in a progress or back to the worst position? And each of us, from archaeologists and non-archaeologists, even from England, from Iran, anywhere, these sites belong to humanity. We have big, big responsibility to preserve site for future generation. And so I want to return my talk to Mr. Raskar, and you can continue and give us your idea about the site.
Well, I'm actually superfluous over here with both of you on either side of me as experts on archaeology, or experts on Sialk, and I just act as a representative of Iran Heritage Foundation. So I'd let you do the talking. Just to say one brief thing, and I think that one should use for the Sialk site maybe add a name as Gershman Abad as being a good English name for Sialk, because he's done so much work and it's been so impressive, all of what has been done by him and then continued by all of you. So that would be a funny joke, as it were, to say that this is Gershman Abad, but I'll pass it on to Dr. Nokandeh to say his words and see how we can then, with John, wrap up the recommendations and concrete steps that everybody can be taking or was suggesting that can happen.
سرخوش شما بیاین اینجا ترجمه بکنیم، من به حرفا بزنیم. آره حرف شما رد. من اول واقعا خیلی شما صدا من واقعا اول که از بنیاد میراث ایران و سفارت برای برگزاری این سمینار واقعا میخوام تشکر کنم و اینا گام اولیه رو برای نجات سیالک کشید.
First of all, I would really like to thank the Iran Heritage Foundation. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. My God, clear.
No?
Yes.
I would I would like to thank the Iran Heritage Foundation and the Embassy in London for organizing this get-together, this symposium, and bringing us all together to focus really on the question of Sialk, Tappeh Sialk.
این کنفرانس به ما این فرصت رو داد که ما داده‌های خودمون رو مرور کنیم و متوجه شدیم که همه پژوهشگران هنوز سوالات زیادی دارن که باید باش کار بکنن و ما باید بستر این پژوهش مجدد رو فراهم کنیم.
This gave us an opportunity really to focus on questions and ideas that we had, and we came to the conclusion that we really have to readdress the question of Tappeh Sialk and to go back and look at it, look at the site with different views.
ما باید مواظبت کنیم این که این یه محوطه‌ای در درون شهر هستش و حتی پژوهش‌های ما باید حفاظت محور باشه، یعنی همون پیشنهادی که آقای سفیر داد، آقای دکتر فاضلی داد و همه همکاران به این سمت بریم که حتما سایت موزه سیالک راه اندازی جدی بشه.
We have to be aware that we need to be cautious, we have to be preventative, and we have to make sure that we preserve also the city, but then at the same time we establish a site museum that follows the rules and regulation, but in this site then we can preserve the history of Sialk.
سازمان میراث فرهنگی در واقع در 2 سال اخیر تلاش کرده که کرزون و بافرزون تپه سیالک رو با کاوشایی که مال آقای جاویری اینا بود انجام بده و الان حداقل خطوط تاریخی این اثر مشخصه و من امیدوارم که همونجوری که شهرداری قول داده ما این امید داریم که شهرداری به کمک سایت بیاد و سایت نجات پیدا خواهد کرد.
In the last 2 years, the Cultural Heritage Organization of Iran has really focused on the perimeters and on the site itself, and together with the help of the governor of Shiraz, the city of Shiraz, Kashan, who has promised to do the same, we have, I think, achieved this, and we're going to progress from here.
من یه پیشنهادی دارم به همه همکاران، مؤسسات، دانشگاه و مؤسساتی که اینجا هستن، این که اگر بشه ما یک کمیته تشکیل بدیم که یک پایگاه داده ها، یعنی یه دیتابیسی تشکیل بدیم که اطلاعات سیالک رو در واقع در اون بریزیم و ما در موزه ملی تمام پشتیبانی رو از این دیتابیس انجام بدیم، یا هر جایی که تصمیم بگیرن ما این آمادگی داریم که اطلاعات همه بره و در داخلین و این همکارا با هم دیگه شیر کنن این اطلاعات رو.
I have to add that I forgot one thing in the previous sentence, and that was the site museum. I left it out, that it was very important to build a site museum. But Dr. Nokandeh is also suggesting, and his suggestion is to all colleagues from museums, from universities, all researchers, to help them set up a database in Tehran at the National Museum, which will include all the online database that will include information on all objects from Sialk in the various institutions abroad and in Iran, and that everybody will have access to this database online.
تو سیالک یه سری مشکلاتی هستش که حتما دولت ما باید در ایران اینو انجام بده. من منتظر بودم آقای سفیر بیاد ولی آقای انتظاری اینجا هست. اون مشکلات حرایم سیالک و مسائل پلان مدیریتی که داره، اینا مسائلی هستش که من به نظر من اگر آقای سفیر به رئیس سازمان میراث فرهنگی همین دغدغه‌های ما رو بهشون مکتوب بنویسه تاثیر داره و مطمئنا ما سال آینده اگر این فرصت رو در لندن یا در ایران داشته باشیم با هم دیگه ملاقات کنیم حال سیالک بهتر خواهد شد.
I have to say here that our government has certain problems in the case of Sialk, and it will have to set certain perimeters and rules for the site of Sialk. And I wish that His Excellency, the Ambassador, had been here to, so that he would hear our suggestion, but then Mr. Intizari from the embassy is here, and we hope that he will convey our fears and our problems to His Excellency. But this has to be done, and certain rules have to be set so that we know where to move within Sialk.
ما امیدواریم که تلاش‌های ما یه جوری باشه که منظر فرهنگی سیالک به هم نخوره و من امیدوارم که با این جلسه که اینجا تشکیل دادیم، بنیاد میراث ایران، سفارت جمهوری اسلامی، ما در موزه ملی و کارهایی که همه همکاران بکنن، روزهای آینده روزهای خوبی برای سیالک خواهد شد.
Again, I seem to remember things from the previous sentence. And I also hope that we will have another meeting here next year and discuss the progress. But I am sure that with our meeting here, with the help of the Iran Heritage Foundation and the Embassy in Iran and us in the National Museum and all colleagues here, we will be moving forward and we will protect the heritage of Sialk and preserve it.
Thank you very much. Well, my role is going to be to try and sum up very briefly and produce a list of recommendations. I won't do that yet because we're going to have a Q&A session. And I'd like to set the ball rolling with the Q&A session, if I might, by coming back to the presentation from Mr. Mahlouji about Kashanika. As I understand it, Kashanika is an NGO, a non-governmental organization. I'm a bit unclear about what the role is of Kashanika and Mr. Mahlouji vis-à-vis the National Museum and the Cultural Heritage Organization. So if we produce a list of recommendations, for example, who are these recommendations going to be addressed to?
بنیاد کاشان در واقع بنیاد خصوصی است که با موزه ملی یه تفاهم‌نامه داره درباره پروژه‌های مربوط به کاشان و فعلا ما سکه‌ها رو تموم کردیم، اما درباره سیالک هم با هم به تفاهم رسیدیم که یه دیتا در واقع دیتایی رو اونا خودشون در بنیاد کاشان برای کاشان دارن، ما این اجازه رو دادیم که از دیتای ما تصاویر بگیرن، کارشون انجام بده، بینا تحویل بدن.
The Kashan Cultural Foundation is a non-governmental office foundation, but they have signed an agreement with the National Museum to cooperate with them. At the moment, they are going through the coins of the National Museum of the Mint of Kashan. They are gathering all the information and putting it onto a database, and the same thing is going to be applied to the Sialk objects, and they have completed the work on the pottery, and they are going to have access to the database that exists in the National Museum. So, in short, they have signed an agreement, an official agreement with the National Museum of Iran. But this is a database that is not to the taste, perhaps, of people, the museum people or researchers. This is simply a database that the Kashan Foundation, Kashanika, has set up and includes information from the National Museum.
Well, thank you very much for all of that. I would now invite questions, statements, ideas to come from the floor. Mr. Nafisi. There is a roving microphone. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves.
My name is Horboz Nafisi. Thank you to the organizers. As a member of the audience, what a wonderful day to be enlightened. I just wanted to focus on some of the ways we do things in Iran. We have, unfortunately, a habit of action and very strong reaction. These buildings around this site, some were built before this became a site of importance. Some were truly illegal because they were built after the site became an important site for Iran. So you have to distinguish between the two. If you're living around this site and you're looking at that photo behind you and you see people walking over this historic site and you're told that you have to move house because this is a very special site, I'm wondering what sort of a reaction you have to the government's take on this, and perhaps this is the area of cooperation that is needed. If you go to Athens and you go to Acropolis, for example, another city which we built, you have a situation where the neighborhood actually is all around Acropolis. It has been defined some time ago, and everyone knows exactly the perimeters of this. So one of the most important things is to actually identify the perimeters and get this into the papers, get it into the public domain so people know exactly what is going on. If you ask a Kashani at the moment, the actual perimeters, it's been shifting sand. Thank you.
Dr. Nokandeh, why don't you say it in Persian first?
این اطراف تپه سیالک در قبل از انقلاب این ملک مال فرهنگ و هنر بود. بعد از اینکه انقلاب میشه متاسفانه یه عده‌ای میرن یه فتوایی از امام جمعه شهر میگیرن که این زمین رو تقسیم میکنن. بعد اینا مالکین خصوصی پیدا میکنن، هر کسی پلاکار تقسیم میکنه، بعد این حق برایشون ایجاد میشه. متاسفانه در اون موقع سازمان میراث فرهنگی مجددا تعیین حریم نمیکنه، چون این خیلی مهمه که باید حتما خطوط حریم دقیق داشته باشه. تا 2 سال پیش یعنی بیشتر حفاظت بدون قانون داشتن، میرفتن شهرداری همینجوری میگفتن اینجا حفظه، تا اینکه 2 سال پیش این خط که مشخص شد الان متوجه شدن که چه خسارت سنگینی به معوته زدن و چه خسارتی باید برای پرداخت بدن. جابجایی کار خیلی آسانی نیست، ولی واقعیت این است که کاشان الان یه شهر گردشگری شده. مسئولان کاشانی و مردم کاشان این رو فهمیدن که تو اقتصادشون توریست داره تاثیر میذاره. این فهم مشترک الان در فرمانداری، در شهرداری، در دانشگاه، حتی کاشانیایی مثل آقای محلوجی که از بیرون هستن، الان این فرصت تاریخی واقعا وجود داره و ما فکر میکنیم که بتونیم سیالک رو نجات بدیم، ولی واقعا یه اشتباه این اتفاق افتاد.
If I leave anything out, please remind me. The problem is that all the area around the site of Sialk before the revolution used to belong to the Ministry of Culture, Wizarat Farhang. After the revolution, people ignored that this was governmental land. They confiscated the land, divided it up between themselves, and people started to build houses on it. The problem with archaeological sites is unless the perimeter of the site is not legally registered, anybody can just go there and take a piece of land and then get, for example, a fatwa from the cleric in the mosque and claim it as his or her own land, piece of land. And this is exactly what has happened. And at the beginning of the revolution, of course, the Cultural Heritage Organization was not active as it is now. And in the last 2 years, the Miras has become very aware of this problem, but not just the Miras, but also Kashanis themselves. They have realized that tourism brings a lot of money and people to Kashan, which Mr. Mahlouji also explained in his talk, and wealthy and influential Kashanis like Mr. Mahlouji have become aware of this problem. So the important step is to establish a perimeter, a protective legal perimeter around the site of Sialk. As long as this is not done, people will go and confiscate the land and build houses on it.
John, yeah.
Could I just bring in at this moment Mr. Bijan Rouhani, who works with UNESCO? And the question I want to ask is about this development which is occurring all around the site. There's many instances around the world where sites have not been registered as World Heritage Sites precisely for this reason, because there's been the encroachment of housing on those sites. An example, it's not a very good example in view of what's happened recently, but an example is Nineveh in northern Iraq, which wasn't registered because of all the urban development. Do you think that that would happen in the case of Sialk, that UNESCO would be reluctant to register it because there's already been this substantial encroachment?
Well, short answer, yeah, I think this would affect the site nomination sometime in future when Iranian authority, they decide to nominate the site for World Heritage inscription. They would affect the site, but of course it depends on how illegal development and encroachment has badly affected the outstanding universal value of the site. So first, what authorities need, they need to have a statement of outstanding universal value and show that illegal development has impacted or not impacted that OUV. So if they can prove that although there is illegal development, but the OUV has not been negatively impacted, there is a high hope or chance to inscribe the site on the list. But the decision is by the committee, and the committee is an intergovernmental committee, so you need a study and research to precisely answer to your question.
Is the Cultural Heritage Organization going... No, I think it is on. Yeah. Is the Cultural Heritage Organization going to undertake active policy to buy the houses on this land in future? They're doing it, so this is interesting as well. They have already started to buy land from the house owners.
یعنی الان سازمان میراثه که در واقع به کاشان پیشنهاد داده شهرداری که اگر میخوای ثبت جهانی بکنی باید محدوده عرصه تاریخی، یعنی کورزون باید همه ساختمان‌ها رو خریداری کنی که مالک دولت بشود. تو بافرزون هم باید چیکار کنه؟ مقررات رعایت کنه، یعنی بیش از 2 طبقه نسازه، تمام مقررات رعایت کنه و سازمان میراث فرهنگی خودش هم سالانه 1 میلیارد پول میده برای خرید. فقط شهرداری نمیخره، یعنی الان سازمانم برای کاشان در پول میده برای خرید و آزادسازی ساختمان‌ها.
This has already been started in Iran, and Dr. Nokandeh is emphasizing that it's really the Cultural Heritage Organization of Iran, the Miras Farhangi, which is really undertaking an active step. The Cultural Heritage Organization has approached the Shahdari, the municipality of Kashan, has made the municipality aware of all the problems and has said that you absolutely have to determine the remit of the ancient site, and we have to get back the houses. Now, the Cultural Heritage Organization is spending 1 million. 100 million, 1 billion, 1 billion, 1 billion riyals, toman. 1 billion toman. 1 billion toman is spending 1 billion toman per annum on the purchase of the land. So the active actually part here is the Cultural Heritage Organization, and it has tried to really show or open the eyes of the municipality of Kashan.
If my arithmetic is correct, that's about $3 million a year. Is that right? Good. Sorry?
Which is nothing compared to the size that is required.
That's true. That is true. There's a long way to go.
It's a drop in the ocean.
Sohrab.
Thanks a lot. I have a photograph that's going to be shown on your screen. The reason I put it on the this way because I wasn't quite sure that it would be in Mr. Jawari's presentation. Let's just wait for a second. Oh, it's not that.
That's not the one.
That looks
flower.
lovely. Thank you. I asked this picture to be shown because this is a photograph I took personally from this private development just at the doorsteps of Sialk. This is a private development and it's continuing. It has not stopped. In the previous presentation, there was another issue which is very interesting as well. Whilst these developments and the work of very, very heavy machinery cause a lot of damage, what the city of Kashan and the governor of Kashan state is doing, they're clearing up the existing illegal housing. And in one of the pictures that you show, sir, there are heavy equipments used to remove asphalt, for example, and remove the illegal housings. The operation of these heavy equipment, whether it's for construction or whether it's for destruction, both have very, very negative impact on Kashan. The Kashan Heritage Organization is a private NGO, and they do the best they can. I know Mr. Mahlouji personally. But this is something that has got to be picked up by the government of Iran and the Iran Heritage Organization, because the good we want to do, or the bad that is being done, both are extremely detrimental to Sialk. Thank you.
من تا اونجا که میدونم این خونه در محدوده عرصه تاریخی و حریم تاریخیش نیست، اما در حریم منظریه. فرقم نمیکنه. یعنی لندسکیپ این اثر رو زیر سوال برده. متاسفانه سازنده با ارتباطاتی که در سطح شهر داشته متوجه بوده که هنوز سازمان خط تاریخیش مشخص نکرده و خیلی سریع این ساختمون رو ساخته. و الان من میدونم که این ساختمون داره کار خودش رو ادامه میده، یعنی در واقع داره دیزاین‌های داخلیش رو انجام میده، ولی تو نقشه مصوب جدید الان دقیقاً موقعیتش نمیدونم که چه تعریف قانونی برای این حریم قائل شدن. این تو نقشه شما هست، مشخصه که این ساختمون میتونه در وضع موجود بمونه. آره این الان لوکیشنش من تقریبا میدونم تو عرصه تاریخی نیست، ولی سازمان میراث فرهنگی اعتراض داره در مبنی بر اینکه این حریم منظری اثر رو زیر سوال برده، چون ارتباط این اثر رو از خیابان امیرکبیر به سایت کاملا قطع کرده، یعنی کاملا ارتباط قطع شد. ولی میشه مثلا یه موضوعی که الان پیشنهاد خوبی هم هست، این تصویر میتونه در زمینه گزارش ما بشه، آقای بعیدی نژاد به رئیس سازمان میراث فرهنگی نامه بنویسه و نسبت به این یه جوابیه‌ای رو سازمان تحویل بده که مشخص بشه در عرصه هست، در حریم هست، یا سازمان نسبت به این سازه چه کاری میکنه. این میتونه به نظر من یه پیشنهاد خوبی باشه.
This is a private residence, is it?
Private residence.
It's a private residence?
Private residence, yes.
MashaAllah.
Dr. Nokandeh is saying that unfortunately this house, which he calls the White House, because it looks like the Pentagon somehow, is not inside the cultural remit, historical remit of Sialk, but it is within the Harim Manzari. It destroys the view and the landscape of Sialk. And the owner of this house, who built it, has been completely aware that he has not trespassed the remit and has quickly built this house. And according to Dr. Nokandeh, they are now decorating the inside, and they are ignoring any warnings. What could be very useful if this photograph could be sent or would be sent to the embassy, Iranian embassy in London, with a request to ask Dr. Badinejad, His Excellency the Ambassador, to make a presentation to the Cultural Heritage Organization of Iran and ask what was happening with the site and what was happening with this building. And this could get the ball rolling. Well, let's hope not. I think Jonathan Top has a question.
Questions?
Jonathan Tubb, British Museum. I think in a situation like this, one of the most important things is to engage with the local communities and to get them on board, get them on your side, before we start doing too much depossessing of people from their homes. Because you're saying this is an important site, but to many people there, it looks like a rather untidy heap of earth. You've got to get across why this is important. Start dealing with some signage, put signage up, distribute information, get it out in the schools, why this is important. Then you'll get people on your side working with you. You might even develop a reporting network. When people start building things in the middle of the night, you might have people coming to you saying, there's a person over there starting to build a house. You must engage with the local community. I think that's essential.
Yeah.
Very good point. Any comments from the floor? No.
If this is going to be فارسی بگم به انگلیسی فارسی ترجمه دین میخوام بدونم که اگر این قرار جزو میراث یونسکو باشه بعضی از آثار کاشان و جاهای دیگه به طور برگشت ناپذیر تخریب شدن، یعنی درختای باغفین به کلی از بین رفتن و چشمش هم به کلی خشک شده. آیا در این شرایط باز هم این یعنی مجموعه شهر کاشان و سیالک قابل چیز هست، قابل ثبت در یونسکو هست یا نه؟
ببین اول اینکه باغفین نه چشمش خوش شده نه درختش.
Vesta, would you mind just translating for the audience?
هر کی اخیراً رفته همه به من گفتن درختاش از بین رفته. به هر حال نمیدونم.
Could you just repeat your question?
Anybody who's been to Kashan recently told me that the trees have no.
نه ببین اصلا
Can you repeat your question in English? Can you repeat your question in English?
The question is whether the sources and trees of Kashan have died down, have dried up.
Of Bagherzade.
Of Bagherzade. And this in itself will contribute to not registering, being able to register as a...
ولی هر اثری که در فهرست میراث جهانی ثبت میشه ورلد هریتیج مونیتورینگ میکنه. اینجوری نیست که توریست بتونه تهدید کنه و یونسکو کوتاه بیاد. شما گزارش ادواری دارین به یونسکو میدین. حتی برای سایت سیالک هم اتفاق میفته. یعنی محدود میکنه، میگه گردشگر این تعداد بیاد. برای اون درخت هم اینجوری واقعا نیست. برای آب هم امکان داره یک کارشناسی اشتباهی کرده باشه، ولی یونسکو مونیتورینگ میکنه نسبت به اثرایی که ثبت جهانیه و باید پاسخ بدن، حتما رصد میکنه. خود سازمان هم یه مرکز مونیتورینگ داره که حتما نسبت به اثرهای جهانی بیشتر مونیتورینگ میکنه. اما اینکه خطر توریست میتونه تهدید بکنه، خلاصه مدیریت محلی به نظر من خیلی مهمه که خودش نسبت به این مسئولیت چقدر دقت بکنه. در باغفین یه مشکلاتی پیش اومد، نمیشه اون چیزی که شما شنیدین اشتباه نیست، ولی بلافاصله مدیریت شد و حل شد. به همین خاطر سایت های یونسکوی خوبیشونه که یونسکو مونیتورینگش رو درست انجام میده.
There has been a problem in the past about the drying up of water sources and the trees of the Bagherzade, but the municipality dealt with it and this was reverted. But Dr. Nokandeh is saying that when you make a proposal to UNESCO to register the site, UNESCO will actually keep the site under observation and will monitor it for a period before it is actually registered.
Dr. Motashemi.
Thank you very much. I wanted to specifically thank Mrs. Curtis for reading the paper by Dr. Mahrouji. Would it be possible at all to have a copy of that paper? Because it gave a very interesting and informative references to many books, and it would be extremely useful for us to increase our awareness and understanding.
Thank you very much. I'm actually very pleased that Mr. Mahrouji agreed, and this was a result of some telephone conversation and persuading, because he said that he couldn't come and he really didn't feel like having his paper read out. And I argued that it was very important to know for everybody. I will certainly pass on your message to him. I don't feel that I have the authority to give you his paper because he really sent it to me and he wanted me to read it. But if you give me your details, I will ask him to get in touch with you, and I'm really pleased that there's been positive reaction. He will be delighted to hear that. Thank you very much.
First, I want to thank panel. I am going to speak in Farsi, and later on, Dr. Curtis is going to translate because she is much better than me. یکم دراماتیکه حرفی که میخوام بزنم خانم، ولی توی دنیا فکر میکنم تمام آرکئولوژیستا، تمام کسانی که با تاریخ زندگی بشر سر و کار دارن باید یک کمپین درست کنن از تمام دنیا. این سایت هایی که تاریخ زندگی انسانیه حفظ بشه، هر کس بمب روش بندازه کریمینال شناخته بشه و در دادگاه های آینده، because you never know what's going to happen. They did with Syria, they did with Iraq. It has to be legalized. Nobody go near them in any case.
Good point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall I translate?
It is dramatic, but needs to be done.
I'm
The campaign needs to be done by all the universal researchers,
Yes.
archaeologists, and everything.
Yes, I mean, Lady Rennick's point is that it is the duty of all international archaeologists and researchers from museums, universities, everywhere to get together to protect these sites and to make it really illegal to destroy these places, because we have seen what has happened in Syria and in Iraq, and this really is the duty of every single person.
Thank you. First, Iradj, and then you.
I think what is coming out of this first seminar, as we call it, of Tappeh Sialk, is that the proceedings today really have been so elaborate, so detailed, so wonderfully presented, that if we really would take an effort to try to memorialize this and publish the proceedings today, if we can get permission from all the participants and put the papers together as being the result really of the first seminar on Tappeh Sialk, and hopefully this will jolt the memory and jolt the minds of the powers to be in the future and as a reference, and hopefully we could repeat this and get this moving forward. So if Dr. Curtis would agree, we would be able to put such a publication in. This would be, and Mr. Bagherzade will print it for free. This would be an ideal outcome for us. Thank you.
over there.
Thank you, Claire Littlejohn. It's very interesting to be here because last night I was actually listening to a lecture about the regeneration around the Acropolis. And what was interesting there is the perimeter of the Acropolis has not yet been defined, but they have actually set out a program of expansion of the site such that what the works that they do there don't damage what's underneath. So all the hard stand, they have removed architecture that they think is inappropriate, but they haven't damaged underneath. And they've all the paving that they've put down is easily removable, so that it gives a chance for the future for us to look further, because they haven't yet determined how big the site of the Acropolis is, and my guess is similar problem here.
Questions? Yes.
Well, it's not really a question. I just wanted to say that I think we all, with all of the horrific things that are happening in the Middle East in particular, Aleppo, Mosul, I don't know, all the destruction, we have to be incredibly grateful to Iran and Miras, and for all of your shortcomings and all of the challenges that you have. We all have to say a huge thank you for what you're doing, because it is not, it is, the opposite is happening everywhere else.
Yeah.
Can I just use the opportunity very briefly here and to remember two people who really contributed to the preservation of Iranian archaeology. I think one of them is Alireza Shahpur Shahbazi, who actually was lying down on before the terrace at Persepolis when Ayatollah Khalkhali and his tanks moved to destroy Persepolis, and said, first you have to drive over me and the people of Persepolis before you destroy Persepolis. And the other one who really contributed with his life to the preservation of the Miras Farhangi, Shahryar Adl. And I think we should remember them at every single gathering. They actually both paid with their life. One died of cancer and one died of a heart attack. So they really are great men of Iranian archaeology.
Yeah. This would be an excellent note on which to end, unless there are other points that... Yes?
Suffixes, they don't pronounce the N. In Kashanis, they don't pronounce the N's. So what does the word fin actually means?
Fin?
Well, the fin.
Anyway, thank you so much, and thank you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
There's another hand over here. Yes.
Should there be any efforts with regard to the repatriation of objects from museums, the British Museum, the Louvre, particularly with regards to the comment by the gentleman at the back about getting the community involved, and if they don't feel a connection with their history, how can you expect them to care about Sialk? I went to the Pergamon last week and I saw Mehrab Kashan, and I'm from Kashan, my parents are from Kashan, and they have never seen it. And how can you, all of this doesn't make sense if the people there can't see their history, can't feel it.
Interesting question. Any comment on that?
نه ببین اشیاری که ما از هیچ موزه پس نمیگیریم، نه، چون این اشیا به صورت قانونی وارد موزه های دیگه شد. الان ما با موزه ها همکاری میکنیم، دیتابیس مشترک تشکیل میدیم، تو شبکه آنلاین قرار میدیم. در صورت من از لوور بگم، سال گذشته مدیر لوور در تهران بود، تعداد زیادی خبرنگارا از مدیر لوور سوال کردن که شما آثار ما در دوره پهلوی اول و قاجار بردین. ایشون گفت ما طبق قانون بردیم، درست هم بوده، حق قانونیشون هم قانون کشور ما این بود که اینا میتونستن ببرن. بعد خیلی شوخی قشنگی کرد، گفت که شما در تهران به همون اندازه ابعادی که ما در لوور به فرهنگ ایران پرداختیم، در تهران شما یه ساختمانی بسازین که ویژگی لوور داشته باشه و من اشیایی که متعلق به فرهنگ فرانسه هستش اورجینال رو به شما تحویل میدم، مجوز دولتم هم میگیرم. چه فرصتی بهتر برای اشیای ایران که بریتیش موزیوم یا تو لوور منتشر بشه؟ نه، اونا در یه مقطع تاریخی رفتن و به نظر من بریتیش موزیوم، موزه لوور و خیلی از موزه های بزرگ اینا میراث بشری هستن دیگه، متعلق به اون کشور نیست واقعا.
Dr. Nokandeh is saying that actually all the objects that went to foreign museums under the Pahlavi dynasty and also under the Qajars, they left the country under the laws of that time. So there were agreements, and according to those agreements they were sent to those museums. And he thinks that these objects belong to humanity and they don't belong to one country. And he's giving an example that last year the director of the Louvre came to Tehran, and there were questions at a press conference that how could he keep all the objects from Iran in the museum and not return them to Tehran? And the director of the Louvre joked and he said, well, I suggest if you can build a museum in the center of Tehran in the size of the Louvre, like the Louvre, I can guarantee and I will give my consent that I will send some of the most precious objects of French art to this museum to have them on display. Then Dr. Nokandeh added that he believes that objects that are from Iran in different museums do not belong to one country, but they belong to, they're Iranian objects, but they belong to humanity and to mankind. And as long as they are visible and they can be seen, they are fine and they should stay in those museums. I think I translated it right now. Yes, yeah.
Yes, second question.
With all due respect to Doctor.
Can you take the microphone?
With all the due respect to Doctor and Louvre Museum, etc., I object to a person sitting in Paris running Louvre Museum to be derogatory about Iran, whether Iran of today or whether Iran of yesterday. Tehran has got lots of beautiful museums. They've got beautiful objects in there. Tehran Museum for Contemporary Art, by the way, has got beautiful artwork of European or North American origin. So with all due respect, if I were there or if I ever get the chance to tell the director of Louvre Museum, I would know exactly what to do and would to tell him where to go and what to do with himself. He has no right.
نه ببین اینجوری واقعا قضاوت نکنین. ایشان گفته که من بر اساس قانون رفتم، ولی اگر امروز شما جا دارین من به شما آثار میدم. الان رئیس دپارتمان هنر شرق لوور اینجاست. اینا در سال آینده تو همین مقطع زمانی که ما هستیم قرار شد 24 تا از مسترپیس خود لوور رو به تهران بیارن و نمایشگاه موقت بیارن. در صورت ما چون روابط خیلی جدی با موزه لوور داریم، اون خطای تاریخی رو اون دولت مرد دوره قاجار یا اوایل پهلوی انجام داده رو که امروز ما نمیتونیم پاسخ بگیم. میگیم قانون عطف موسبق نمیشود. موزه لوور یا بریتیش موزیوم که از طریق قاچاق این اشیا نگرفته، از طریق قانون ایران در ایران کاوش کردن، اشیا را تقسیم بندی کردن و اینو بدونین ایشون متخصص بوده و شما طرف ایرانی آدمی که یک کارشناس هم نبود، یه دیپلم داشته، کمتر از این نماینده دولت بوده.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Iradj, I got to, because this really hurts
Well,
I
can
do
we
not have any
register,
problem with
John, if we can register the fact that, that there are controversies around the issue of...
All I want to clarify is this. I have no problem with the legality of the issue. I have problem with the joke about my country,
I think
which
that
I
any,
love.
I think any joke is always worth a good hearing. Anyway,
Maybe
if we can move on.
Something? I think maybe this was my fault because there is subtle difference between shukhi and a joke. So I think I am the guilty one.
I think
Shukhi.
before the enforcer becomes a joke, the enforcer moves on to ask a question, if I may. The Fellowship of Archaeologists in the world is a fairly small grouping of people of enormous distinction and depth of knowledge, etc. Could one of the recommendations that are made with respect to Sialk be that the archaeologists of Iran make a specific group of recommendations and a specific group of actions to get the archaeologists of the world outside Iran involved in this issue of Sialk and other activities in Iran, so that in effect a momentum of interest is generated that will have its impact outside the world of archaeology, which will then result in governments, sponsors, etc., becoming knowledgeable about this whole issue and therefore interested in it. Could that be something that goes into the recommendations?
Well, I've got something a bit similar to that, not exactly couched in the way that you've just expressed it, but a little bit similar. I think that anything that does get done has to be done through and under the control of the Iranian Center for Archaeological Research. I don't think we can impose any kind of solution on them, but I certainly think it's true. And this was actually one of the recommendations of Mr. Javeri, that there should be more archaeological work in Kashan to draw attention to the importance of the site. And we heard earlier that two of the colleagues here are actually going to work there later this year, aren't you, Dr. Fazeli and Dr. Nokandeh? Yeah. But if ICAR would like to involve other archaeologists and there's a proper plan, I think it would be an excellent idea, yes.
من یه چیزی بگم ما در سیالک همین پروژه بین‌المللی رو داشتیم. خانم تیمبرگ عضو پروژه ما بوده، آقای مایکل دنتی عضو پروژه ما بوده، خانم باربارا هلوینگ در همین سیالک قبل از دوره احمدی نژاد همه این چیزا وجود داشته. یا بعد از این هم آقای دکتر فاضلی با آقای پروفسور کانینگهام اینا یه تیم بین‌المللی بودن. الان در ایران تقریباً 15-16 کشور به صورت پروژه مشترک کار میکنن. من مدیر پروژه باستانشناسی دیوار بزرگ گرگان هستم در دشت گرگان. ما هر سال 15 کشور با ما به صورت مشترک در دیوار گرگان کار میکنن. از روسیه، از فرانسه، از انگلستان. یعنی ما با دانشگاه ایدینبورگ و دورهام هر سال در پروژه انجام میدیم. ولی موضوع پروژه سیالک به نظر من میراث ایران وسیع‌تر از اون چیزی هستش. ما باید بیشتر کمک کنیم، ما باید از این فرصت‌ها بیشتر استفاده کنیم. متاسفانه ما رضایت میدیم به 15 هیئت خارجی. به نظر من باز باید بیشتر تلاش بکنیم و من امیدوارم که این همکارا همه کمک کنن این اتفاق دوباره برای سیالک بیفته. ولی واقعا سیالک رو ما 2 ماه پیش با آقای فاضلی پروژه پیشنهاد دادیم به سازمان میراث فرهنگی و در همین پروژه از 15 کشور همتایان بست جهان رو ما انتخاب کردیم. از آمریکا، از انگلیس، از آلمان همه همکارامون رو انتخاب کردیم. دانشگاه مشخصه و ما الان پلان داریم برای این کار.
Good. Of course, I would say this as a publisher. I think the idea would be to get the word out into the world, not necessarily via the participation of archaeologists in Iran, but also as a way of getting some public relations going for the word Sialk, and therefore getting the international media, getting others in other disciplines and so on and so forth knowledgeable and interested. Any further points or queries?
One final question I have, if I may.
Go ahead.
I want to ask this from Dr. Nokandeh. How can we get some more teeth into the Miras Farhangi in order that they may be able to carry on some major projects and push forward what you all know needs to happen that is not happening?
حقیقتش این سازوکار مالیشو نمیدونم چجوری میتونه کمک کنن، ولی پژوهشگاه میراث فرهنگی در واقع در حوزه پژوهش‌های میدانی کار میکنه. اینکه چجوری اگر پول رو چجوری میدن، یه بخشی دارن به نام کمک‌های مردمی. دندون NGO الان تو دوستداران میراث سیاق تشکیل بدیم بعد کمک کنیم، نه؟
The question is how can the IHF, for example, contribute directly to the Miras and help to the Miras? And Dr. Nokandeh is by what we have done actually now to form a sort of symposium on Sialk and to focus on Sialk and see Sialk as the main prerogative.
Good. Yes.
Trying to help. As a trustee of a foundation, I can tell you that anything even with the name Iran in it is immediately stopped still by SWIFT. And we're asked all sorts of very humiliating questions. I really got angry last time and told them off that we're not criminals, we are benefactors, and you don't need to address us in those ugly terms. So I think that is one thing to do and say, that cultural activity, sending money for cultural activities to Iran is considered a crime by the government of the United States, which is not allowing it to happen. I think something has to be done about that.
Yes? Are you going to do something about that?
Well, I wish I could, but I do have a suggestion. You know, if we had programs on the BBC and PBS, the History Channel, about the amazing work that you guys are doing, particularly in contrast what's happened in Palmyra and all the other places, to show that you are the one place that is saving the history of humankind, that would really not only shame the people who have the purse strings in Iran, but also bring huge attention from the people of the world.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
May I just add that Dr. Fazeli was telling me that the BBC is preparing a film actually on Tappeh Sialk.
And Tappeh Sialk and Shuza and other
archaeological sites.
You need to contrast it with the amazing work that you guys are doing and the amazing irreparable destruction that has happened in all these other historical sites.
We can propose for a ambassador to cultural heritage organization, and you could suggest.
At the same time, being very careful not to politicize matters. Any other points? Any other queries? On that note, I think I would invite John to come and give us a quick summary of what we're going to do next.
Thank you, Iradj. Well, it's a rather difficult thing to try and pull anything together at the end of this very interesting day, so I'll just be very brief. What we're proposing to do is to make a statement on our website, which I hope will encapsulate the thinking of most of you as a result of what we've discussed today. It'll be quite a brief statement, but I hope it'll be a hard-hitting one, and I hope it'll be widely circulated. I think the first point is a self-evident one, which is to point to the importance of Tappeh Sialk. The presentations during the course of the day have underlined that. I can't actually think of another site of comparable size with the same sort of length of occupation that Sialk has. I don't think actually that there is another such site in Iran. As we've heard, there's actually Paleolithic settlement in the vicinity, not presumably at Sialk itself. We heard this from Dr. Biglari. Occupation at Sialk starts in 6000 or so BC and continues perhaps with some sort of gap, more or less uninterruptedly, down into the 3rd millennium BC. There does then seem to be a bit of a gap in what might be called the Middle Bronze Age before it's picked up again at the, towards the end of the 2nd millennium BC. Professor Dante was telling us. Then it's occupied during the Iron Age, during the 1st millennium, down certainly to the beginning of the Achaemenid period, I think probably into the Persian period itself. There's one of those wonderful beak-spouted vessels which shows on it a warrior wearing one of the very typical Achaemenid period short daggers, or akinakos, which may be evidence for occupation at that date. Indeed, it would be very surprising indeed if there wasn't a major center there in the Achaemenid period. I'm not quite sure what happens in the Parthian and Sasanian periods. They must be evident somewhere, maybe under modern Kashan, because we know for sure that occupation there starts in the very early Islamic period. So there's no doubting the length of sequence of occupation at Sialk and the size of the site, and its extreme importance, I think, is extremely obvious. As well as that, though, it's not just a question of establishing a historical chronology. As we've seen, it has the capacity to generate a whole load of other studies which are important for other disciplines, talking about archaeobotany, archaeozoology, metallurgy, and so on. All of these things, I think, can benefit from more study of Sialk and probably more work there. So that's number one. Stressing the importance of the site, and that obviously has its place in promoting it in terms of promoting and protecting cultural heritage. So number one, the importance of Sialk. Number two, I think, is that we should stress that it should be nominated as a World Heritage Site without delay. As I said earlier, it's actually number 6 on Iran's tentative list at the moment. Hopefully, it will very soon indeed become a World Heritage Site, and that would at least prevent more development and more building on the site, and probably the removal of some of the existing illegal buildings at least. Number 3, I think Mr. Jabari's suggestion that there should be increased archaeological excavations at Sialk is a very good one. There's no doubt that with more excavation, more attention would be paid to the importance of the site. The local authorities, for example, would be obliged probably to take it more seriously. But I'm very much of the view, and this is what Mr. Jabari said, that any excavation work should be carefully planned. It should be part of a strategy. I think ad hoc archaeology is not at all a good idea. The Iranian Center for Archaeological Research needs to come up with a very good and careful plan. And that, if that involves international teams going to Sialk, working together with their Iranian colleagues, that would undoubtedly be a very good thing. Number 4 on my list was the suggestion of Jonathan Tubb, which was engaging the local community. That's very important. We've seen all around the Middle East, I think, that that's really an essential thing to do. Education, education, education ought to be the buzzwords for this. It should obviously be part of the local school curriculum, and everybody in Kashan and vicinity should be made aware of the importance of Tappeh Sialk. Number 5 was this question of the boundaries of the site. As I understood it, but I need to look at this a bit more carefully, Mr. Jabari was referring to 3 different boundaries, presumably of escalating importance. I think what's important to say at this stage is that a boundary or boundaries should be recognized, that no further building should be allowed inside the boundary, and whenever possible, building should be removed from within the boundary. This is obviously an important point. My number 6 was the question of the online database. That's clearly a very good thing to do. Dr. Nokandeh referred to that. Hopefully, museums and institutions all around the world will contribute to that online database for material from Tappeh Sialk. Next is the question of the site museum. Some of you will know that there is already a small museum in Bagherzade, which does actually, as far as I remember, I haven't been there for 15 years or so, but I think it does have a few cases of archaeological material, but it really doesn't qualify as a site museum, and it clearly would be a very good thing to construct a new state-of-the-art site museum, which would draw everybody's important attention to the site. And this is the sort of thing, clearly, where the international community might contribute, both financially and possibly even intellectually, who knows. But it's something that can be discussed in due course. I think it would be a very good thing to do. Next, penultimately, I think it would be a good thing to have another conference about Sialk. I hope you'll all agree that it would be. There were quite a number of people absent today who would have made important contributions. I listed them at the beginning. One of the problems, of course, was that we only decided to do this conference in fact, just before Christmas, so with notice of about 3 months. I think if we decided on a date in the future and gave people enough notice, we would be able to bring together everybody with a serious interest in Sialk, and I think we could have an excellent conference, perhaps even lasting a couple of days. And I would suggest that a major publication should then result from that event. And I thought it was a splendid suggestion of Mr. Rastegar that IB Tourist should publish that conference. Maybe a rather wonderful book like you did for the Palace of Darius at Susa, with no subsidy, of course, yes. So those are my suggestions. That's what I'm intending to put on the Iran Heritage website. If anybody's got any serious objections to any of those points, please let me know now. Otherwise, you'll see this appearing I see already some hands are coming up. Already you'll see this appearing in a couple of weeks. But anyway, Robin, you want to hear? Yes.
Not inscription, because if you go too early for inscription, it will undoubtedly backfire.
Impact adversely on the end result.
An inscription, it will almost never fall.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. In fact, I don't know how far the process has gone at the moment. I think we'll need to find that out. But yes, certainly we'll take those comments on board, definitely. Well, if there are no other points, then I'll draw the proceedings to a close, and I'd just like to thank two members of the IHF staff who've put this together, this conference. They are Astrid Johansson and Masume Sofinia. So can I ask you all to join with me in thanking them?